Good evening, madam. I'm Vishalini Chandran. Today, I will present our study on the effective of the KLCI and leverage related market condition on derivative price performance in Malaysia. My selected derivative is FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI futures, commonly known as FKLI, and our study covers the period from 2015 to 2014. This presentation focuses on the market, background trends, theoretical relationship, regression, findings, limitation, and also recommendation. First of all, study overview. The main objective is to examine the relationship between the KLCI inflation and derivative price performance. KFKLI is appropriate because its underlying instrument is the FBM KLCI. The report follows the regression model specified in the assignment where derivative price is explained by KLCI and inflation. One important point is that this presentation uses the verified annual observations available in the report rather than inventing monthly data. Second one, what is FKLI? FKLI is an equity index futures contract based on the FBM KLCI. Bursa Malaysia specifies that the contract is denominated in Malaysian ringgit and its contract size is the KLCI multiplied by 50 ringgit. Ringgit and its contract size is the minimum price inflection is 0.5 in the index point valued at 25 ringgit and the contract is cash settled. Its main uses include hedging equity market risks, obtaining tactical exposure, and supporting price discovery. Followed by next, which is why KLCI is matters. The KLCI is important because it is Malaysia's main equity benchmark and represents large liquid companies listed on Bursa Malaysia. Since FKLI provides forward exposure to this index, changes in the KLCI are expected to be closely associated with FKLI movement. Therefore, derivative pricing theory gives us a strong expectation of a positive relationship between the KLCI and FKLI, followed by KLCI trend from 2015 to 2024. Looking at the KLCI trend, the market did not follow a persistent upward path. The strongest increase occurred in 2017 when the index reached 1,796.81. The market then weakened in 2018 and also 2019. There was a recovery in 2020, followed by another period of weakness from 2021 to 2023. Finally, the KLCI recovered strongly in 2024, ending at 1642.33. Next, inflammation also changed considerably during the study. It was 2.1% in 2015 and 2016, increased to 3.8% in 2017, and moderated in 2018 and 2019. In 2020, Malaysia recorded negative inflation of 1.1%. Inflation then increased in 2021 and 2022 before moderating again in 2023 and 2024. Then the trend shows why inflation alone cannot explain market performance. For example, inflation was relatively high in 2017, while the KLCI performed strongly. In contrast, inflation increased sharply in 2021 and 2022, while the KLCI weakened. This means that several factors can affect the market at the same time, which supports the use of the variation regression rather than relying on inflation alone. Theoretical framework. Uh, it uses several theoretical perspectives. Derivative pricing theory suggests that future prices are connected to the underlying index, financing costs, dividend, and also maturity. The efficient market hypothesis suggests that publicly available information, including inflation information, should be incorporated into pricing. Investor behavior theory also recognizes that sentence, which means sentiment or overreaction and also loss aviation, can affect market expectation. Inflation can influence market through interest rate, corporate cost, and purchase power. Then the expected KLCI relationship is positive because the KLCI is the underlying index. For inflation, the direction is less certain because inflation can affect market through different channels. This tests whether inflation has significant relationship with derivative price. At the 5% level, a p-value below 0.05 indicates significance, while a p-value above 0.05 means the null hypothesis is rejected. Next, FKLI price performance. For derivative price performance, this uses a transparent market link, which is like FLKI proxied based on the corresponding year and KLCI levels. Therefore, it also follows same broad market pattern. However, actual FKLI prices are not identical to the KLCI because of future basis, contract maturity, financing consideration, and market expectation. This distinction is important when interpreting the result. Followed by the regression model is an ordinary least squares model. Derivative price is the dependent variable, while KLCI and inflation are the explanatory variables. The current draft uses 10 annual observation because these are the verified observation available in the report. The model is therefore uses for demonstrating the methodology, but it should not be treated as the final monthly empirical test. The proxy regression produce an R squared of 1.000. The KLCI coefficient is 1.0000 with a p-value of 0, indicating a statistically significant positive relationship in the proxy specification. The inflation coefficient has a p-value of 0.8888, so it is not statistically significant at the 5% level. The overall regression is statistically significant. However, the extreme high R squared is expected because the proxy was constructed directly from the KLCI series. For hypothesis testing, the inflation p-value is 0.8888, which is greater than 0.05. Therefore, H02, the null hypothesis of no significant relationship between inflation and derivative price performance is not rejected. There is insufficient evidence to support H1 too. The KLCI relationship is statistically significant in the proxy model, but this finding must be interpreted cautiously because the proxy is constructed from the uh, same KLCI data. Okay. Uh, The key findings are straightforward. First, theory expected FKLI to be closely linked to the KLCI. Second, proxy model shows a positive and significant KLCI relationship. Third, inflation is statistically insignificant in the proxy model. This does not mean inflation is economically irrelevant. Its effects may be indirect or offset by other market factors. Finally, statistical association should not be interpreted as a proof of cautions. Okay, there are several important of limitations. This requires 120 monthly observation, but the current report has only 10 verified annual observation. FKLI is represented by KLCI linked proxy rather than actual month settlement prices. The small sample limits statistical inference and other relevant variables are not included. Also, regression using price levels can create a risk of spurious correlation when a series move together over time. For the final part, which is the most important recommendation, is to replace the proxy with 120 actually monthly FKLI observation and matching KLCI and inflation data. The regression should then be rerun using appropriate software. The final analysis should report to the regression statistics and test returns as well as price levels. Additional controls such as interest rate, exchange rate, trading volume, and also volatility would also strengthen the model together with the Dynox test and autocorrelation and multicolorally. In conclusion, FKLI is an appropriate derivative for studying Malaysian equity index market exposure because it is directly based on the FBM KLCI. This trend analysis shows significant market inflation with strong performance in 2017 and 2024 and weakness during 2021 and to 2023. The proxy regression find a significant KLCI relationship but no significant inflation relationship. However, the final empirical conclusion should be made after replacing the proxy with the required 120 monthly FKLI observation. That's all, madam. Thank you.